I almost had to burp, so I was waiting for a second. All right. Hello, and welcome to the Knit Girls. This is episode 515. I'm Laura, also known as Lala.
I am Leslie, also known as You Don't Call Me Les. Today is Wednesday, January the 13th. Yes. It is a historic day in the U.S. because our president just got impeached for the second time.
That's never happened before.
Never has. And that's all we're going to say on that topic. Let's see. It's cold outside. It's very cold.
It is. It's
It
good,
snowed.
like, sweater weather. Well,
it didn't stick, but it snowed.
It was just enough to get me super excited that we were going to miss school, and then we didn't.
Yeah, I was able to scrape enough together off of one of my chairs to make a snowball.
Aw. Did you throw it at Kobe?
No, I was trying to get one of the dogs to take it, because, like, Neelix likes playing with balls, but he wouldn't take it. I got rejected.
Girl hates snow.
Yeah, well, Buffy loves it, but she loves it when there's enough to actually run in, like in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So.
And it went south of us, which is super odd.
Yeah.
Maybe this is... Michael assures me that we are going to get snow this year.
Michael's a liar, so.
I know. He told me we were going to get snow that stuck to like 2 inches as last time. He totally lied.
Liar.
But so did the weather service. So, and I guess like Senatobia got a good 1.5 inches. So, or something around though. So it went south of us. So weird. Alrighty.
I think I skipped this. Yes, I did. Okay, sorry.
Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay. I have 3 things on the needles. I am working on the 4th and final Handspun baby hat. This is using some fiber that I spun in a Jillian Merino spin along that happened in early 2020. And so she had you use a braid of top and you divide it into quarters, and every quarter you like down the middle, and every one, it was her sample long, you spun differently. So the first one that I spun was just as it comes, and that's this one. And then the second one I spun flipped, so it's so I reversed one of the braids, and so you can see it pulls much differently. And then the third is one of my finished objects for the week. So this is the fractal spun. And because with fractal spun, you're dividing the fiber even more. Like these 2, I think I knit on size 5s. This I had to go down to 3s and change the stitch count. But yeah, it looks much different than the other ones. I'm going to take a picture of all these laying out when I'm done. And so I'm on the last one now.
And so these all came from the same braid, right?
Yep. Okay. So this is all out of Superwash Cordale from Into the World in the Moscow Mule colorway. It's one of my favorite colorways that they do. So the last one is marled. So you basically hold the 2 different bits of fiber together that you've divided down and draft those 2 together. And then you're making 2 singles like that. So it creates a marled 2-ply. And because you're holding more fiber supply together, my marled yarns always come out a little bit more chunky. And I only have around 15 yards of this. So I am adding some Barocco chunky alpaca that I used that's left over from a shawl. So I'm going to do the ribbing, and this is being knit on size 9 12-inch circulars. I'm going to do 1.5 inches of ribbing and then knit around, and then I'm going to knit this until it's gone. And then I'll do, depending on where it lies, I'll either finish with this or do the decreases in the blue.
Yeah.
I don't want to stripe it because I want to be able to see what this does. Right. Yeah. So I want like a good solid patch of it. And none of these hats right now are intended for anyone, so I can kind of do what I want with them.
Yeah.
Because I'm the boss of my knitting all day. I labeled all these with Tyvek ties that I bought off of, I think I bought them off of Amazon. They're just Tyvek wristbands. But if you are crafty or thrifty, you can actually tear up package for it's the same material, it's Tyvek that's used in priority envelopes.
Yeah,
and you can
the flexible ones. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can flip them inside out and write on that, like cut it into strips and write on that. The perk of these is they come with like a sticky tab on them, so you don't have to tape them down. So that is the first thing that I am working on. The second thing that I am working on, I think I showed you guys these last week. This was a sock tube cranked out of Kirby Werby yarn. I believe the colorway is I Ain't Afraid of No Ghost. It was like part of a kit that she sold at one point. And I have the ribbing done on the sock. I actually ran out of yarn in the bind off, like 20 stitches from the end. So I had to rejoin. So I have 2 extra tails to weave in. And now I am knitting the toe, and I had finished the ribbing and toe on the first one. So after this, I'll have the heels, and that will be it. And then those will be done. And then the last thing I have on the needles is also a sock. Oop, and I believe it's in the middle of a row, so I gotta fix that. I was knitting on this at the dentist's office yesterday. It's very exciting. Because I got to my appointment actually early for once, which never happens. So I was sitting there knitting, and the lady asked me if I was crocheting. This was also like right before she asked me when I would be retiring from my job, because apparently I look like I am of retirement age.
Yeah, knitting in public equals old lady, apparently.
I don't know. I do not know.
I avidly look forward to the day I can like pass as an old lady, where I can just tell people whatever I want to say and nobody questions me.
I mean, whatever. Okay. So I had finished a pair of socks, and so I wanted some more sport weight socks, and I grabbed some nomadic yarns in the Bad Guy colorway. This is one of her renamed colorways, and it's her sport weight base. And so I started knitting this on size 1s. I actually started when I had to circle the Kroger parking lot for an hour looking for a pickup space the other day.
Yeah, they really need to increase the number of pickup spaces they have.
Here's what happens at mine. People park in those spaces, so they only have 6.
Yeah.
And 3 of them had people parked in them.
Mm-hmm.
And
then go into the store.
Yeah, and they were in there for a long period of time, like over an hour. Because I was circling for quite a while. And then I had my directions. A lady was backing out. I had my directional on to get her spot. And someone snuck in from the other direction. And it made me irrationally mad.
Oh, yeah.
Because at that point, I've been circling for 30 minutes.
Yeah. It's like a war trying to get one of those spots. It's the same way at my local grocery store, too. So I always try to pick, I mean, you can't always, but I try to pick like a 1 in the afternoon or, you know.
This was Sunday morning at 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, but unbeknownst to me, I kind of knew that we were supposed to get snow, but I didn't think it through. So when we get snow in Mississippi, or the prediction of snow, it can be 2 snowflakes in the sky. People go crazy for like bread and milk and whatever else.
All the perishable things that wouldn't last through a snow.
I mean, you could put them out in the snow and they would probably be fine if you lost power or whatever. But yeah. Anyway, so this is Nomadic Yarns. I'm knitting it on size 1. These are my Addie squared. Someone last week asked, like, they had worn off the cord, because they're printed what size they are on the cord, and they had worn that off. And because they're square, it might be a little bit more hard to tell what size they are, which is where I was thinking a pair of calipers might be a good plan. So your husband is giving me a pair of calipers, because how many calipers do you think he has?
A lot, yeah.
Yeah, so he's like, I will give you my least accurate pair of calipers because I was like, I don't need it to be super accurate. I need it to be like within a 0.25.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not going to loan you my $150 pair of calipers. And I was like, dude, I don't want your $150 pair. I want like your Harbor Freight calipers.
Yeah.
So
it'd be like asking us how many pairs of fixed 16-inch needles you have or whatever. Like,
no, those are not equal because I can be using multiple pairs of fixed circulars at the same time. I don't know that you can be using multiple calipers.
I mean, if you have to measure lots of different stuff, sure.
At the same time?
Sure, yeah, why not? I don't know your life. Like, maybe you do need a lot of calipers.
I don't know.
I really don't even know what calipers do, except like you clamp down and it measures the distance. Like, that's all.
Yeah, there you go. Ta-da, you've got it. That is what they do. There's other calipers that apparently do things with the braking system on your car, and they are spelled the same.
Good to know.
Because I was like, what? When I did a Google search, I was very confused for a nanosecond. Those are the 3 things that I have on the needles. I have nothing else. Oh no, I'm a liar who lies. It's not on the needles, which is why I forgot about it. But I did swatch for something. So I swatched on an Instagram Live on Sunday, I believe, for the Wave of Change pullover sweater. And I would show you that swatch, but there it is. So it is this nice big swatch right here. And it is a bulky white sweater that you get. Let's see. I'm knitting it on size 9 needles. I think I got gauge. The gauge that I needed was 14 across and 20 up and down. 20 rows equals 4 inches. And that's what I got approximately before I washed. So I need to go back and remeasure. This is Cotton Rope by Rowan. Jessica sent me this out of her stash when she went through her stash and decided to get rid of some stuff. I told her she should not get rid of this and she should knit the Wave of Change sweater for her. And she said, I'm just dead. So I have exactly enough yarn to knit the sweater with nothing left over.
I don't even know what the sweater is.
It's linked in the show notes. So it's an oversized, not really oversized, 2 to 4 inches ease, bulky pullover that has rings of garter stitch around it. And the yarn that it calls for is a wool cotton blend, and I'm using a wool acrylic blend. So they should behave pretty comparable, I think.
I'm looking up the pattern.
Okay. I'm doing the pullover.
By Denise Bayron. Oh, okay, this is like that, like the stitch pattern sort of reminds me of that, the Pearl Ridge cowl by Stephen West.
Yeah, just a smidge. There you go. So it's actually on my things to knit for 2021 list. So I thought I would get a head start because it's January. And because I'm doing this thing where I use 24 more skeins of stash or balls of stash than I bring in. The size. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know we had decided on that.
That's my plan. Cool. So I would like to use 24 more skeins than what I have in my stash currently, like net loss of 24, which is just 2 per month over the course of the year. And look, these are little 50-gram balls.
Cheating the system. I mean, it's your rule. You don't have to try to cheat it, but whatever makes you happy. I'm not trying
to cheat it. So I looked for other things to knit this sweater out of in my stash, and I'm out of like bulky weight sweater quantities. I have 2 left, but both of them are like, so this is in my size calls for like 800 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And both of them are like 1,400 yards. So I didn't want to use those on.
You would have too much left over, but not enough for another item.
Oh, I am a liar who lies on that too, because I have 2 Ursa quantities of linen, but I don't want to use linen for this. So I'm going to use this cotton acrylic blend, and I'm going to shorten the length of the sleeves because this is how I wear sleeves.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to do 3/4 length sleeves and maybe lengthen the body a little bit in exchange. It's a top-down raglan.
So did your swatch grow? Because it's, half cotton.
I don't know. I haven't measured it again. I did I love doing a pre-washing measurement. While you talk, because I've been talking a long time, I will lay it flat and measure it. How about that? Does that sound good for you?
Why don't you just lay it flat and measure it now so that you don't interrupt me when I'm talking?
But I like interrupting you when you talk.
I mean,
it makes me happy.
It is sort of like the defining factor of the podcast, but
yeah, it's at 14.
And what was it before?
14.
So it didn't grow.
It did not grow. It stayed the same. So it's right. I got gauge for what I need.
Right. That's good. My question is, you were talking about adding length, and because cotton tends to grow as it gets heavy.
Yeah, I might not need to add as much length as I think. But because I'm right on anyways, I don't know that I'll be able to add a ton of length anyways.
Yeah.
And worst comes to worst, I just don't rip out the swatch, which would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's all I got.
Okay. Well, I don't have any finished things yet, but I do have progress. So
did you just do finished objects at the same time as works in progress?
No.
What are you doing?
I don't have any finished things, but I do have some things that are in progress.
Good.
So the blanket of doom, I should probably stop calling it that. The giant granny square blanket. Blanket.
That's what I'm going to call it. The blanket.
Last week I had, I think, like 8 or 9 of the big squares left to make. I finished all of those. And I finished putting everything in strips. So I have 7 strips of 6 squares each. And each square is 16 squares. So I have 7, like the 7 final strips are ready. And then I've already seamed strip 6 and 7 together. And I brought up strip 4 and 5 to seam together. And then I'll seam 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll put those 3 sections together. So anyway, I've made a lot more progress than I thought I would.
Yeah, absolutely. Yay for progress on the blanket.
On the blanket that Laura is sick of hearing about. I've picked an edging for it that looks pretty. It looks pretty and it looks relatively easy. So, yeah. So, right now everything's in strips. All of the backs are cleaned up of ends.
Wow.
So I just have to seam them together along the edges and then clean up those ends. But yeah, I mean, the end is getting closer. I can see. So I'm excited about that. And Kobe has claimed it, so it has a recipient, which is good.
Oh, good. You just walked by and said, I want that blanket?
No, he was like, when are you going to be done with my blanket? And I was like,
oh.
Okay.
Are you sure he didn't mean the fur blanket?
No, I wasn't. That one was put away. Plus, that one can't stay in our house because Neelix goes up to Kobe's room all the time. And because Kobe occasionally will hide a couple treats under his blankets. So.
That is, no.
When he's up playing on his computer, he doesn't do it like overnight or anything, but because Neelix comes in there all the time looking for food. And
Because he hides treats in his blankets.
I mean, I can't blame him. He wants Neelix to love him so much.
But Neelix does not.
He just doesn't, like, if it's not Michael, he doesn't care. Like, I'm Michael adjacent, so I get more attention than Kobe does. So, anyway. So that's really all I have to talk about on this. It's too big to really show anything until it's completely done. I would love for it to be done by the next time that we record. Realistically, it might be 2 weeks before it's done.
Yeah.
Because steaming everything together is arduous and hot because it sits in my lap. And also, anytime I'm sitting, my cat is in my lap. So that's 2 sources of heat, like, just radiating. So
yeah, I think that sounds amazing.
I think that you need a kitty cat or 7.
I do, but I don't know that that's to be right now.
Yeah. So the other thing I'm working on is the scarf cowl thing that I am knitting out of fully spun 13 different Pride colorways. So I'm striping them. I cast on 60 stitches. I think I'm using a size 7 needle and sport weight. And I'm just striping them 2 at a time. I'll end up with 1 extra one, which will be the POC Inclusive Pride, which I will do in a block and probably in like a feather and fan, like Laura mentioned. So I think that's a good idea. So right now I have gender queer and gender fluid. That's the other one. I couldn't remember for sure. So these are the 2 that I'm working on now. And these are all that I have left. So this is the POC Inclusive Pride. So that's the one that'll have its own. It's just a beautiful, beautiful color. I love it.
It's amazing. I wore my hat out of it the other day because we were doing textbook pickup, and I got so many comments from people about loving that hat.
All right, go away. I'm busy.
You are Michael adjacent.
I said his name earlier when I was talking about searching for treats. And so now this is my life. So that's what I have. I have no spinning. I thought about spinning earlier, but then I had to work and I got pulled away. So
if you could spin this theoretical spinning, what would you be spinning on?
It would be Spotted Circus. I have some on the Starling. It's like silvery gray. I can't remember what it's called, like Moonlight or something like that. It's like a silvery gray that's really pretty that I want to ply with something else. So look, Kobe opened his door. Go see Kobe. Oh, God, gross. But I know you've been spinning, right?
I have finished objects.
Oh, okay. Sorry. The world is, it's all about me. And so.
I mean, usually it's all about me. So when I was handing out textbooks the other day, we did like a drive up system, and it was an 8-hour window. So it was from like 9 a.m. No, 8:30 a.m. till 5 p.m. And so I sat in this little like foyer, and people would drive up, and then I would give them their textbooks, exchange out their textbooks, and we would go about our day. But people were not there all the time. So I knit on my Joanna Spring socks and as her Little Known Holiday Club in the Tolkien Day colorway. And I got the second one finished. So now I have a finished pair of socks for me. So, yeah, and they're green and happy. They're like St. Patrick's Day socks.
Yeah.
But they're for Tolkien Day.
It's a good gender neutral color too.
Yeah. I mean, it's good me color too.
Well, yeah.
So I do have enough left over probably for a baby hat. So that might happen. And this is her Targhee Sport, which is really, really nice and bouncy. It's funny to go from this to like, now I'm knitting with the Nomadic, which is a merino, and like the differences.
Yeah.
Because Targhee's so bouncy.
It is. It's so stretchy and happy.
Yeah, it's a breed of sheep for those of you who don't know. And merino is also a breed of sheep. So it's just different fiber types. So yeah, those are done. And while I was waiting for Leslie, I even wove in the ends.
Oh my gosh. I made you resort to weaving in ends.
I know, right? And then I already showed you guys the baby hat that I finished. The little cute little baby hat that's fractal spun. I really like the fractal spinning.
I mean, that's what you tend to do the most.
Yeah, so I'm glad I like it. But it makes it almost like little blips of color a lot of times. And then, as I drop that, I also knit another grown-up hat. So I used leftovers, and I'm going to take my unfolds off for a second. And I knit the hipster hat by Tin Can Knits. You actually knit this with the knit side. Like you just knit in the round, and then you flip it inside out. So yeah, I had to do some modifications because this was leftovers. It was like 200 yards of leftovers from a baby hat that I had done test knitting with. So maybe 150 yards total. And I was knitting it on size 4 and 5 needles. And you're supposed to go to a certain length and then you start the decreases. And I had to cut that a little bit short. And then I had to cut my decreases. I ended up decreasing every row for a bit. I might have done the decreases on one side wrong because they've got little blips because I twist my SSKs. So when you flip that inside out, it created like ridges on the one side, but I'm giving this away to a friend. And this is out of Handspun from Spotted Circus. It is like a white that has like really like pastel rainbow iridescence to it. It's really, really pretty. So this is going to go to its new home tomorrow. I'm trying to decide if I want to wash it. I probably should.
I mean, it always smells good after you wash it with soap. So
Yep, and then I'll put it on the drying rack and see if I can get it to dry overnight. If not, I will give it to her on Friday. But yeah, it was a fun little. I'm gonna knit another one for me out of some other handspun, I think. The handspun really, because my handspun is not always consistent. So it really adds like a little bit of texture to those. Like you wouldn't be able to see like the texture if you weren't looking at the purl bumps. Like if I flip this inside out, like in the stockinette, you really can't see that. But flipped inside out, you can really see more texture. So yeah, it's definitely one that I will knit again. And I think it's one of their freebies, maybe. It's part of the Pacific ebook, but some of those are free, and it's really well sized from like infant all the way up to
like
adult.
5X or 6X, most of theirs.
Yeah, their hats are like usually like 5 or 6 sizes. So yeah, so I have 3 finished objects this week. My couch is almost empty I have some baby hats that I want to knit that are over there. But yeah, that's all those projects, those 9 projects that I started, that I had on the couch before break are almost all gone.
You've been kicking butt. I've been working on the same thing for ages.
I mean, forever.
Laura's like, trust me, I know.
I'm keeping track.
I'm sick of looking at it.
All right. When it comes to spinning, I have been spinning on the Matchless, and a couple years ago, my sister-in-law gave me these awesome bats from Bafo Fibers. She gave me 4 ounces, so 2 separate bats, and they have this silk and oil texture in them, which is so fun, and some sparkle. And what else is in them? So it's Bodalicious Bats by Bafo Fibers. Add some fun to your stash. I think
Bodacious bats.
Bodacious bats. What did I say? I can't even.
Bodalicious,
Bodalicious.
which is an amazing word and is now the title of the episode.
So this is 58% Falkland Merino, 29% Polward, 13% silk, silk noil, and Angelina. And it is a lighter shade of Pound It Out Your Porthole is the colorway. I think Pound It Out Your Porthole should be the name of the episode, but I don't make these decisions. Leslie does.
I mean, that's much catchier than Bodalicious. If I saw a Fat Squirrel episode called Pounded Out Your Porthole, I'd be like, I'm definitely making time for that one.
I mean, I make time for all of Amy Bass.
Well,
she's amazing.
100% agree.
So, I still have more spinning. This is what
Look
you
at
get.
the very things that Laura's contributing to the show.
Part of this is because I got a new wheel. So, Daedalus was kind enough to send me their new Sparrow. Let me move stuff. So, this is their latest wheel.
So this is their like mini. This is their wee.
This is their teeny tiny wheel. It does up to 2,000 RPMs. It does both Scotch tension and Irish tension. What else can I say about it? It's got the orifice size is the same as the Starling when it's got its reducer in. So it is a smaller orifice. The bobbin holds up to supposedly 6 ounces. We're going to test that. So I have around 1.5 ounces spun on it. And so I want to see how much I can fit on here. The bobbins are the same size as like a Lendrum bobbin, but they're much deeper. Mm-hmm. So this is the size of the bobbin when it's not on the wheel. That cool little thing. I asked them to make it in Penguins and Steelers colors. So that's what I... price point on this wheel. If you have one of their other wheels and you don't need to purchase the speed controller, it's $400. If you do need to purchase the speed controller, it is $515. So a fairly affordable e-wheel. It is a little bit louder than the Starling, but not a ton. I was showing it to Leslie earlier. And look, it sits on the battery, Leslie.
That's awesome.
Completely.
You still don't need another battery, but...
I didn't order another battery yet. It sits on it so nicely.
It does.
Like a bag too. I always need another battery pack because they're handy. Sometimes you forget to charge them, and so having two is always handy. All right, so the actual thing that I'm spinning some fiber from Hello Yarn. I'm doing a short forward draw with it because I was just playing and getting to know this wheel yesterday. It came in the mail yesterday, and I did an Instagram live, kind of like not unboxing, but playing with it. And so I had this fiber sitting out from, I think, another episode where I was talking about, it was on the ground and now it's got stuff on it. Like how I divide fiber. I think it was the first time we talked about the knitting project that I'm doing. So I had divided this fiber up and the hats. And so I showed it on the podcast. And this is Hello Yarn in the Scorched Velvet colorway. And it is on the Targhee base. So yeah. It's blues and purples and browns and whites. So it's going to come out like more. I love that when she includes white, it comes out kind of frosted looking. Mm-hmm.
When it's not pure white, when it's like just slightly, it's got that sort of milky look to it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So that is on this wheel. And then on the Starling, I ran out of bobbins. So I wound off because why would I ply?
Why would you ply?
And I wound off 2 of the Nest Advents. So this is Superwash Merino. And then the third one that I'm going to ply with these, because they came, it was like 12 days of Advent, but 3 of them are kind of like this softer shades, and the rest are very like in your face. So I'm going to spin these 3 together and ply them into a 3-ply. And then the other, like in your face ones, I'm going to 3-ply into like sock yarn. So like, I think I have 12 total ounces. I think they were 1 ounce each. It might have just been 6 ounces, but that should give me enough for, this seems like larger than 6 ounces though. Should give me enough for at least 1 pair, if not 2 pairs of socks. Yay. And maybe some other stuff. So that's my spinning.
And I know so much going on.
Fun. I mean, I am kind of like a goldfish, and I like to, by the time I get to my other side of my bowl, forget what I was doing on that first side of my bowl. So I also do a lot more like evening Zooms than you do.
Yeah.
So I get stuff done like during that time, I guess.
Laura is much more social than me.
I don't know. Like, I don't have to, you have to sit on Zooms all day for work, and I don't have to do that. Like, occasionally I have Teams meetings.
Yeah, but you still interact with humans at work all day. I mean, I think just different things drain us.
Yeah.
Let's see. So you talked about your spinning, right? You talked about your finished things.
I did.
And your myriad of projects that are keeping you busy.
I mean, someone's got to carry the show.
Thank goodness somebody's doing it. Not going to hear me complaining.
I mean, you could talk more about your blanket.
God, the enthusiasm is just blowing me away. I've been watching a lot of TV while I've been seaming. So, like, there's a show on Amazon called The Wilds, about this group of teenage girls that ends up stranded on a desert island, which was interesting premise. And right now I'm watching, remember the Old Souls trilogy, the Discovery of Witches trilogy?
Yeah, I've heard good things about, so I know the books were a little bit slow, but I've heard good things about the TV show because it cuts like the horseback riding scene from like 25 pages down to like 2 minutes.
Yeah, they skip a lot. And like, I remember when I was reading or listening to the first one, like, they spent, I don't know, a whole chapter about how Matthew, one of the main characters who's a vampire, how he had his own wine cellar at the Bodley and was Oxford. Just went on. There's a lot of stuff that they cut that I think was perfectly fine to cut.
Yeah.
It is still a little like, I don't know if trite is the right word, but like the other main character, the female protagonist who's a witch, it's very like, I've waited all my life to love you, kind of.
Bella from Twilight-ish.
Yeah, like, I mean, I still like this show. There's enough interesting other things going around and going on that I can bear with the like 2 or 3 minutes in episodes that's just unbearably twee.
Yeah.
But it's pretty good. It's on Amazon Prime. So that's where I'm watching that. As far as reading, I'm reading a book called Raven's Flight, which is male-female fantasy because there's magic involved. And I'm still listening to the Soulbound series. I'm on the third one, and that is male sort of urban fantasy. Please get off my knitting. Thank you. Yes, you're a good boy. What about you?
I made some really good progress on my audiobook, the Alana Andrews Wildfire. I only have 2 hours left.
Wow.
So
that's the first one, isn't it?
That's the third one.
Oh, okay.
So it's the last one with Nevada as the main character. So I made some really good progress on that. I got 150 new books out at work. I got a bunch of donations like right around Christmas time, which was amazing. In fact, Concrete Rose, the new prequel to The Hate You Give, I have one of those already, and someone bought me one yesterday. I have like 5 on my wish list because the kids are super stoked about it. And so I was getting all those new books out, and I had also placed an order. My ELL teacher was wanting to do a unit with one thing that our ELLs or English language learners struggle with is there's some things that people consider like common knowledge. Like if you grew up in US culture, you probably know who like Rosa Parks is.
Right, colloquial sort of knowledge.
Yeah, like this universal knowledge that if you grew up in the United States, you probably know who these people are.
Yeah.
And people who immigrate to the country might not have that knowledge.
Right. Yeah.
And so one thing that he wants to do is build that knowledge, because a lot of times state testing, they assume that you have this knowledge.
Right.
That might not be true depending on the culture that you come from. So we got together, and he really wanted to get like the Who Was series, which is a series of books that is basically biographies of different people. And so he picked out like 12, and I bought them using my library budget in both English and Spanish.
Oh, great.
So we're like building that knowledge base, and then each child in his class is going to pick a different person, and then they're going to present to the class about that person. So they're growing the knowledge base amongst them as a group. So they'll be experts in that topic.
So are most of the children in the ELL class, are they coming from Spanish-speaking households?
So some are from Spanish-speaking households, some are from Arabic-speaking households, and then I think that is the majority of this year. We've had some students from Africa in the past, where it's been French-speaking households.
Yeah.
And we've had some from China in the past, where it's been Mandarin. So I do have some books in Mandarin in my library. But those are the majority of the student population. When I was in North Carolina, the majority of the ELL students that we had were Hmong speaking, so which is a language that's spoken in an area of Vietnam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just different, and I try to get something in everyone's, because if you're fluent and literate in your own language, then you're also going to take that over and have those same literacy skills.
Yeah.
So we actually have a student whose first language is a regional dialect in someplace in South America, and then his second language was Spanish, and his third language is going to be English.
Oh, hold on. My dog's got something. Next.
Uh-oh.
Stop. Leave me alone, please. Thank you. All right, sorry.
No, you're fine. So those books came in. So I've been working on getting a bunch of books out. And while I've been doing that, I've been sitting there with my headphones, because a lot of times it's, putting them in the computer, getting the labels on them, and then covering them with either like a plastic cover, kind of like what you put on your cell phone. Leslie knows this, because sometimes she comes up and helps me do this, because it's like my least favorite task ever, because you have to like squeegee out air bubbles, and
it's very like if you've ever done data entry. It's kind of like it's mindless and repetitive, and that kind of stuff I'm all about. I can get into that.
Where I could do the hard covers that get like a clear plastic non-sticky covering all day long. Like I don't mind that at all. So as I've been doing that, I've been listening to my audiobook on my headphones, and also then I can't hear other people around me. So I've got my mask on and my headphones, and I'm just chilling.
And it's like the kids can't come to the library right now anyway. So
yeah,
you know, you're not off in a corner ignoring them.
No. They cannot.
You bring books to the kids' classroom. So
I do. So that's the other thing. I pull books, and as I'm pulling books, they put them on holds, and then I pull them, and I take them to their rooms. And as I'm pulling, I've also made time to listen to my audiobook, especially if I'm staying after school to pull stuff. Like today, I stayed after for an hour and a half, and so I listened to my audiobook as I pulled books. But they are very quick. So I'll put a book in the computer, and within minutes, they'll have already put it on hold.
Yeah. So they can do it over with their phones.
Yeah. So I have to make sure when I get books put in that I am getting them covered fairly quickly, because they will put them on hold.
I did just start another book. I'm only a couple hours into it, so I forgot to put it on the thing. But it's by Koa Beck, who was the editor at Jezebel for a really long time. It's called White Feminism, and it's from the suffragettes to influencers and who they leave behind. So it's about the fight of feminism and how it's been very intersectional, or it's not been very intersectional. I'm sorry. It's been very exclusionary to anyone who wasn't, you know, a white woman, and it gives like useful examples. So it's something that I listen to usually first thing in the morning. I'll try to listen to it for like half an hour before work gets really busy, and I can sort of take notes about things I want to look at later.
Yeah.
But the author relates everything in a very like easy to understand manner. So
approachable.
Yeah. So
cool.
It's good.
I'll check that one out. All right, I think that's it. Is there anything else that you need to discuss?
No, I don't think so. I don't have any sewing because I had ordered serger needles, and Amazon said they came, and they did not come. So the Cricut machine, the maker, that's what we have.
Yeah.
Has the ability to do engraving. So a couple weeks ago, I ordered the engraving tip and then some like little dog tags.
Yeah.
And when I ordered the dog tags, I ordered a little pack of 10, and I got 40.
Huh.
And I guess when they were pulling the order, somebody was having a bad day or read the wrong number or whatever the case may be. So I never got my serger needle. So I had to call them. And, dude, I do not know why you're all up in my business, but I really wish you weren't.
Oh.
So anyway, I haven't been able
love
to.
For Neelix.
It's not that. It's that he can't just know his, like, stay in his lane. You know, he's always got to be on top of everybody else and climbing all over everything. So.
And licking them.
Yes.
Because they taste delicious. Yeah. Leslie's taste delicious.
Okay, that's it. I'm done. Okay, well, that's all that I've got.
I have nothing. Not a thing at this point.
Well, then, I think we're going to wrap it up so I can go and cook dinner.
Yay! I had Chipotle for dinner.
It's my night to cook, so. You guys have a lovely weekend, and we will talk to you again next week. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.
Go away.